We now come to the urgent question from Dr Luke Evans.
To ask the Secretary of State for Health and Social Care if he will make a statement on withholding of Pharmacy First payments to pharmacies.
Minister.
Mr Speaker, it's a pleasure to take the traditional Department of Health and Social Care urgent question before recess. I wouldn't miss it for the world, Mr Speaker. Since coming into office, we've reversed the decade of cuts to community pharmacy with the biggest uplift for the sector in years. Frozen prescription charges to help our constituents with the cost of living, and women can now get the morning after pill free of charge across the country. Earlier this week, I spoke to the National Pharmacy Association's winter reception to pay tribute to the work and to assure them that I have their back, as does my honourable friend, the Minister of State for Care. The honourable gentleman raises an important issue of payments made via Pharmacy First. As he knows, pharmacy contractors receive a monthly fixed payment if they meet certain requirements. We agreed to reduce the claim window in conjunction with a Community Pharmacy England as part of our deal for 2025-26 to introduce a new Pharmacy First fixed first payment of £500. This has supported a broader range of pharmacies and has meant more pharmacies have become eligible for payments. We are in discussions with Community Pharmacy England to consider where improvements to the claiming process can be made to address concerns raised by contractors and to aim for a more consistent approach for new remuneration. And we will consult with Community Pharmacy England on the contractual framework for next year shortly. There are also, of course, Mr Speaker, issues relating to contractors being suspended from providing Pharmacy First, which are also for separate consideration. Where there are concerns raised, NHS England can suspend individual contractors from providing the service pending a full investigation. There are a number of reasons why this might be necessary, but these measures are there first and foremost, as the House will appreciate, to protect patient safety. Mr Speaker, I am a clinician, as is the honourable gentleman opposite. I am sure he will agree with me that patient safety should be at the forefront of everything we do. And finally, Mr Speaker, funding for the core community pharmaceutical contractual net framework has been increased to over £3 billion, the largest uplift of any part of the NHS in the last 2 years. As part of this year's contractual framework, we have agreed to keep the current cost control mechanism linked to Pharmacy First that we inherited from the previous government to ensure the money is spent within that envelope. I thank the honourable gentleman for his question.
Luke Evans.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. And it's a regret that I've had to summon the Minister here to answer questions. And surprise, surprise, a UQ.
You didn't quite summon it. I granted an urgent question. I think, I would think about the language you choose. Think yourself that we've given you something.
I, of course, withdraw that and say thank you to the Speaker for summoning him on my behalf, because it does seem to have the desired effect of the PQs that were outstanding have now, strangely enough, been answered this morning. But I hope to get some clarity. And this is really important because the issue is simply explained by the Chair of the National Pharmacies Association. I quote, "This work was done, patients were treated, the NHS benefited, yet payments are being withheld on a technicality." What makes this worse is that many pharmacies don't even realise that some of the money is missing. The quote goes on, "Statements appear successful, yet Pharmacy First payments are absent. Contractors are only discovering the issue after the window is closed when it's already too late." So could the Minister tell the House how many pharmacies the government think are impacted? What is the total value of the outstanding payments? And what steps the government is taking to rectify this? And would it consider a late payment mechanism to help solve the issue? Because, Mr Speaker, there's a wider issue at concern here, because payments are administered by the NHS Business Service Authority. Now, the chair of the MPA labelled the behaviour from the NHBSA as outrageous. This already follows repeat concerns about NHSBSA's performance, including multiple serious delays in NHS pension processing and several UQs on the floor of this House. So does the Minister still retain confidence in NHSBSA? And given the ongoing concerns from multiple fields, will the Minister commission a review to the operational performance of the entire NHSBSA? Community pharmacies are already under intense pressure from this government. The tax rises on employment, tax rises on business rates, increase in costs, and now they appear not to be being paid for work already done. Yeah. I hope the Minister will act quickly to put this right.
Minister.
Mr Speaker, as the honourable gentleman will know or should know, the current remuneration method was agreed in conjunction with the sector. The adjustment was agreed with the sector representative body, Community Pharmacy England. Advance notice of the change was provided to those contractors by letter and in an article published by the NHS Business Services Authority in May 2025. In addition, Community Pharmacy England know that should this be a priority issue for them to negotiate in the next contract, we will take that on board and use that as an option. And if I could also say to the honourable gentleman, there are of course always extenuating circumstances, such as perhaps IT not working, and officials have reassured me that following discussions with the Community Pharmacy England, we have introduced specific provisions in the drug tariff that will allow pharmacy contractors to receive payment for claims that were delayed to IT issues outside of this control. And I can appreciate why the honourable gentleman wants to expand the remit of the UQ across primary care. Well, let me tell him. I know he had neck surgery recently. I didn't realise they put a brass neck in him as well when they did it, because I'm afraid he knows what kind of NHS decline and decay that he presided over and his government presided over the last 15 years. Primary care, where there are people wandering around asking for GPs, and the party opposite left GPs on the scrap heap unemployed. This government, when it came into office, made sure...
Oh, sorry. Come on, then. One of us has got to sit down. It's not going to be a minister. Please, can we just have a little bit more calm? Members, you've come in, you're the supporting minister or Secretary of State. I want you to set the example, not be the naughty one. Please, Minister.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. And as I was saying, while they left GPs on the scrap heap, this government made sure...
We're going to learn the rules as well between us, absolutely. Dr Luke Evans, I've granted this to you. Quite right, I wanted your question to be heard by the Minister. I didn't want any interruption. I expect you to listen to the answer without interruption, please. Minister.
Mr Speaker, this government takes our responsibilities in providing an effective 21st century primary care NHS free at the point of care. That's why when we came into power, we made sure the pharmacy sector has the largest uplift in any part of the NHS in the last 2 years, £3.1 billion. And to support primary care further, we made sure those GPs that couldn't find employment found it under this Labour government. It is only this government that can modernise the NHS, make it free at the point of care, and make sure it's a high-quality service going forward.
Right, Liam Conlon.
Mr Speaker, my constituent Raj Matharu runs the brilliant West Kent Pharmacy in West Wickham, is CEO of Community Pharmacy South East London, and last year was shortlisted for Community Pharmacist of the Year. I have heard from residents across West Wickham how his pharmacy provides trusted and frictionless access to healthcare and advice across a range of issues. Pharmacy First can both provide a quicker, easier service for patients and relieve pressure on primary care. Can the Minister therefore set out what support they have put in place for community pharmacies, especially around funding?
Minister.
I'm grateful to my honourable friend for his question. We have, as I stated, given pharmacies a record £3.1 billion settlement. We absolutely endorse the need for pharmacists to do more in our communities. We're enabling pharmacists up and down the country to expand their repertoire, and we're making sure Pharmacy First remuneration is a dynamic process, month on month, that is reflective of the activity that each pharmacy is doing.
Helen Morgan, Liberal Democrat spokesperson.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. Pharmacists play a crucial role supporting the health service by reducing the pressure on overcrowded hospitals and GP surgeries. They also play a crucial role in local communities by providing access to treatment when appointments remain hard to come by elsewhere. But pressure on pharmacies is severe and has been getting worse as closures in my constituency of North Shropshire and across the country show. And those closures are hitting rural, coastal and the most deprived areas the hardest, where they are most needed. This vital service needs to be supported and not undermined, so that our constituents can rely on being able to access the medicines and treatment that they need. So has the Minister considered a new late payment mechanism to ensure that if contractors miss the deadline, they can still receive compensation for the work they've undertaken, especially in the interim, as pharmacies adapt to the changes that have been introduced? And what discussions has he had with NHS BSA to resolve the technical difficulties currently being experienced?
Minister.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I can assure the honourable lady of our commitment to an effective primary care system up and down the country, both in rural and coastal communities. I can assure her that my friend, the Minister for State for Care, for whom his portfolio responsibilities with pharmacies lie, takes his responsibilities in that regard very seriously, is exploring all avenues for equity of access and funding, including the Carhill formula. On her specific point around what mitigations can be employed to make sure payments are made in extraordinary circumstances, I can assure her I've had those discussions with my officials this morning, and they reassure me there will be a degree of flexibility, particularly when there are circumstances out with the control of individual pharmacies.
James Nash.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. And I'm very grateful that this UQ was granted, because pharmacies have been in touch with me about their concerns. I must put another issue on the Minister's to-do list, however, and that is independent prescribing. Evans Pharmacy in my constituency has been part of the Independent Prescribing Pathfinder programme, and only 5% of patients seen by the prescribers subsequently require GP prescribing. However, there is no clear funding or arrangement in place for after March this year. So will he please provide clarity about when Evans and similar independent prescribers can be given clarity about what will happen next?
Minister.
I'm grateful to my honourable friend for his question. He's absolutely right. Independent prescribers are an absolutely key part of our workforce, and an expanding part of our workforce in providing a sustainable primary care service. I'm very happy for the Minister for Care to write to him with his exact plans for funding going forward in the next financial year.
Mahindra.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. In the past year, I have spent time visiting pharmacies across my constituency, including undertaking work experience at Riverside Pharmacy in Bosworth, and I regularly communicate with Community Pharmacy Hertfordshire. It is clear that our pharmacies are under unsustainable pressure with rising costs, especially with the government's increased employers' national insurance contributions. Pharmacy First was a great Conservative initiative to reduce pressure on our GPs. So why is this government hurting both pharmacies and patients by delaying payments?
Minister.
The honourable gentleman will know that Pharmacy First is indeed a great initiative. It's not the first in this country. It's been developed in other parts of the country. When this government came into office, what it did was make sure we worked with the sector, with the stakeholders, and the agreements for remuneration and pricing has been done in conjunction with the sector. And what's more, we are approaching this with a dynamism that was lacking in the last government in terms of amending pricing structures and amending payment mechanisms where they are not working and need to be improved.
Lincoln Job.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I visited the Trio Pharmacy in Shepperton in my Spelthorne constituency, and they tell me that there's two problems with Pharmacy First. The first is that they're just simply not getting the referrals from GPs that they should do. And secondly, that the remuneration that they get for the service they give doesn't take into account the amount of time for examination, diagnosis, and prescription. And so it's led to the situation where the Nebel pharmacy in Sunbury, near where I live, actually say, if it weren't, I have to look at this as a vocation because I simply am not making any money, and that's not sustainable, is it?
Minister.
I'm grateful for the honourable gentleman for his question. He's absolutely right. We do need to get the referral pathways unblocked. That's what the Neighbourhood Health Service is all about, to make sure it feels very seamless between your general practitioner and pharmacist. In relation to his question about payments, listen, we are very, very cognisant of the fact that as demographics of populations move, individual population needs are different in different parts of the country. The different payment mechanisms need to apply, and that's why we are very, very closely working with colleagues and stakeholders in the sector to make sure we get this right.
Will Forster.
In my constituency of Woking, residents of West Byfleet are frustrated that a new pharmacy is not allowed to open in their area despite one wanting to. Whether it is that unreasonable restriction, increasing NICs or lack of funding, every action this government seems to take undermines the pharmacy sector. Madam Deputy Speaker, please can the Minister explain why the government is withholding funding from pharmacies when they have signed up to Pharmacy First in good faith, as well as not introducing a late payment mechanism?
I'm grateful to the honourable gentleman for his question, and I'm always reminded by how the colleagues on the Liberal Democrat front bench always welcome the funding for the NHS, but are never able to explain where the money should come from. And as far as pharmacy is concerned, I've already stated in the House during this statement the record funding we're putting into pharmacy. We've already reiterated the engagement at ministerial level we are having with the pharmacy sector, not only the Minister of State responsible for pharmacy, but I also, as the Minister responsible for health innovation. We are in a good place with our relationship with the pharmacy sector, and we continue to develop it further.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Pharmacy First was undoubtedly game-changing. As I visit pharmacies around my constituency, many of them are keen to expand Pharmacy First and offer more lines. But similar to the example my old friend for Spelthorne gave, the Wendover pharmacy took me through their books, and on many of the services they offer, they're either barely making any money or taking a loss. So when he answered my honourable friend for South West Hertfordshire and saying pricing was set with the sector, clearly something is going wrong there, because my experience from the Wendover pharmacy says something quite different.
Minister.
If I could say to the honourable gentleman, as part of delivering the Pharmacy First programme, he's right, contractors receive a monthly fixed payment upon delivering a minimum number of consultations as per the 2025-26 agreement. This can go up and down in a dynamic process month to month depending on patients, how many patients are being seen in pharmacies. I completely take his point that as we are evolving from a care system from hospital to community, we are not quite there yet, but I think we are on the road, and in terms of making sure the relationship between general practice, pharmacies, opticians and other allied health professionals in primary care, we're making sure those relationships are being solidified through our neighbourhood health programme.
Madam Deputy Speaker, not only are community pharmacies in my Thornbury constituency facing problems with Pharmacy First payments, but pharmacies like Abbotswood Pharmacy tell me they are not seeing the referrals the GPs are supposedly making. Pharmacies can take pressure off NHS, so does the Minister agree that this combination of referral failures and payment delays is forcing patients to wait longer for care, and what steps will he take to ensure that both referrals and payments are successfully made?
Minister.
Grateful to the honourable member for her question. She's absolutely right. We do need to unblock some of the referral pipelines between primary care, between GPs and pharmacies. We are absolutely clear with our instructions into the system that pharmacies are an integral and a growing component of the primary care service provision, and all of our discussions with pharmacies, or indeed with GPs, basically have that premise underlying our negotiations.
Richard Ford.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Allied pharmacies have taken over a couple of failing Jutes pharmacies in my area since Pharmacy First was introduced, which is very welcome. And the Chief Executive said this week that the outlook for elderly people and those without a car in rural areas was stark. Between 2015 and 2025, community pharmacies have seen a real terms funding cut of about 30%. That's £1 billion less in real terms. And rural Devon and Cornwall has seen a reduction of 90,000 hours of pharmacy time in 2 years. In this context, will the Minister ensure that full compensation is given to dispensing doctors in rural areas for the costs of medicines?
Minister.
I'm grateful to the honourable gentleman for adumbrating how 14 years of Tory government has led to a significant decay in the provision of primary care services in some of our communities. He's absolutely right to mention dispensing doctors. They're a vital part of the mixture, potentially in hard-to-reach communities and coastal communities. I have had many meetings with them prior to my appointment, and my colleague, the Minister for Care, will continue to have them to make sure they continue to be part of that mix of provision of care in these communities.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Last year I visited a pharmacy in Benson in my Henley and Tame constituency, and there Vic Patel described to me how being a rural pharmacy disadvantages them in the Pharmacy First scheme. They never meet the thresholds to qualify for payments. And that threshold has gone up over and over again, from 5 in April last year, up to 30 patients required to trigger a payment in March 2025. So they are effectively delivering a service for free. Now, Vic is a very lovely chap and is happy to do that, but it is not a sustainable business model. So what is he going to do to help rural pharmacies like mine in Benson?
Grateful to the honourable member for his question, and I can reassure him my honourable friend, the Minister for Care, is looking at funding and primary care provision in the round in coastal communities and poorer communities, and I'm sure I'll be delighted to take back his representations to consider Pharmacy First in a rural setting.
Final question, Jim Shannon.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Can I thank the Minister very much for his answers, and I want to give a Northern Ireland perspective as a helpful suggestion to the Minister as well. The Minister will agree that a rural pharmacy will find it more difficult to meet the ever-increasing threshold, and that the point of payment is to take weight and pressure off GPs, not to provide a backdoor way of underpaying earned compensation is difficult, but always trying to be helpful, Madam Chair, and to the Minister as well. In Northern Ireland, we have a slightly different system, which I'm asking the Minister to consider. Perhaps the Northern Ireland system of payment per consultation would be a more appropriate way, and I think maybe that would give the pharmacies, the GPs and their patients what they're looking for. Thank you.
Madam Deputy Speaker, I'm always grateful for the Honourable Gentleman's wise counsel, and he will know that I have regular meetings with my counterparts in the devolved nations, and I'm well aware of some of the remuneration schemes that are taking place in Northern Ireland, and I'm following them with interest.
That is the end of the urgent question on Pharmacy First withholding payments. I'll give the front benches a few moments to shuffle over.